Hello and welcome to the second video in the ECO SharePoint training series. This video will review adding an instructor, adding a class, adding a session, and adding a participant. So let's start with adding an instructor. Obviously, the main goal of SharePoint is to add participants to the system and to register them to a class. However, in order to do that, users will first need to add instructors to the site. So we will go over to the Quick Launch menu and click on Instructors. Here you can see 2 instructors were recently added. To add a new instructor, you'll click on New and then New Item, and then enter at least the last name and the full name. Those are the only 2 required fields, as you can see by the red asterisk. It is important, though, if you do have more information, to enter it, and I'll tell you why. Especially the email address for instructors. This is a way that the Connect-OIO office can give updates to everyone that's involved in the Every Citizen Online program. So having an instructor email will allow them to receive any updates about the ECO portal, about the training website, any information that might be vital to an instructor before they have a class. This will also allow us to give monthly updates about the program to everyone that's involved. So here I'm going to enter in the information for our instructor. And in the full name, and the email address. Okay, you can also enter in the organization, job title, any other information that would be helpful for your organization to track. Here I'm just going to put instructor. You'll also notice that there's a notes field, so this is going to be very common in a lot of the sections. If it's helpful for you to use, feel free to use it. In this case, we're just going to leave it with this information and click OK. And as you can see, our new instructor has been added to our list. If that's the only instructor that you need to add, then you're done and you can move on to adding your classes. If you do have multiple instructors, just continue to add them. And then click OK. And again, you'll see that the new instructor is now on this list. So we're going to move on to adding a class. Once the user has entered the instructors, again, the next step is to go ahead and add the classes. And for ECO purposes, a class is defined as full 6 hours of training comprising of the 3 objectives. And the 3 objectives are computer session, internet session, and use session. We'll discuss this a little more when we go through the sessions. So every participant should be assigned to a class and a session. This is definitely vital during the invoicing process, and this makes the process much smoother, and it will definitely save you time in the long run. So in order to add a class, you'll go to the Quick Launch menu again, and this time we're going to click on Classes. This is very similar to adding an instructor. We're going to go to new item. But the thing to keep in mind here is that everything needs to be using the same naming convention. And in here you can see what that naming convention is. It's location, date of first session, and the size limit. And it's formatted here. So main branch is going to be the location. The date of the first session is always going to be the 2-digit month, the 2-digit date, and the 2-digit year. And then the size limit is going to be L, and then the number of participants that will fit into that class. So, in our example that we're going to use, the South Branch of the ABC Library is holding a class the week of May 21st. There will be 3 sessions on the following dates: May 21st, the 22nd, and the 23rd. There are 15 computers in the classroom, so the limit is 15 participants. The class title would be formatted like this. First entering the location, space, the 2-digit month, the first session date, which is the 21st, and the year, which is 2012. For the class limit, since there are 15 computers, there are going to be 15 participants. And this is what you should consistently use, again, in order to pull reports for invoicing and for us to maintain our records. So again, you're going to enter the limit here, and that is 15. You can enter the location information if you choose to, but it's not necessary. If someone were using this website to look up information on registration numbers for different classes, then it would be helpful to add a lot of this information. But for our purposes today, we're just going to enter the title and the limit and click OK. And just like you saw in the instructors, when a new record has been added, it says new next to that record. So we've added the South Branch, the date, and the class limit. And you can continue to add new classes this way. But for now, we're going to go on to adding a session. And keep in mind, best practices for a class structure is going to be 2 3-hour sessions. This is really important. We found that the organizations that use this practice have much higher completion rates. So if your organization wants to use another structure, think very carefully. You can use other structures such as 3 2-hour sessions, but the completion rates might be a little lower for those sessions. So in order to add a session, we're again going to go to the Quick Launch menu and click on Sessions. Now here, normally all of these are actually going to be closed, and you can see the default view is going to be all of these sessions rolled up into their class group. And again, to see each of the sessions that have been scheduled, you just click on that plus, and you'll see all of those sessions tied to that class. In order to add a new session, we're going to click on New. And the important thing here is that when you're using the naming convention for a session, you'll need to know each session's abbreviation. And the session abbreviations that we use are, for computer session, you'll use CS, for internet session, IS, and for use session, US. So we're going to use a very similar example for adding a session. The South Branch of the ABC Library is holding a class the week of May 21st. There will be 3 two-hour sessions starting at 9 a.m. on the following dates: May 21st, May 22nd, and May 23rd. The session titles would be formatted like this. I'm going to enter one and then proceed to enter all 3 so that we can see what it looks like when we're done. So the important thing here is to, again, make sure everything stays consistent. South Branch, we're going to start with the computer session. The date is going to be May 21st, 2012. They all start at 9 a.m. and they're all going to be 2 hours in length. Now, the important thing here is to add it to the appropriate class group. And remember that we added this South Branch May 21st, 2012 with a limit of 15. That's the correct class group that we want to tie all of these sessions to. So I'm going to click on that. And then again, I'm going to add the session date and time. And these are really important when you're doing reports so that you can pull exactly the right information. This hours complete section, you actually will not fill in until after that session has been completed. And this is vital for invoicing. We're going to show you in the custom views section how you can create a report so that you can see all of the hours that you can bill for a particular month. So remember, do not fill out the hours complete section until that session has actually taken place. And also remember that there is a session limit. So the minimum registered for a class and those that have attended should really be 6 participants per session. If you're falling consistently below this, you may not be able to invoice for that session. So please keep this in mind. If you consistently are under registering for a class or participants are not showing up as they should, you might want to register more people for a session to ensure that you reach that 6 minimum number of participants per session. So here, this will go back to the instructors that we have entered in. So if you'll remember, we've entered in Stephen King and VC Andrews. So Stephen King is actually going to take care of this session for us. And if you want to use the notes section again, you can definitely do that. Here we're going to just leave it blank and then click OK. And you can see here for the South Branch that we've just added 1 session to this class group. So we're going to continue on to the next session in this class group. And again, we're going to leave the hours complete blank, but we're going to select an instructor. And let's say VC Andrews actually instructs this session. So again, now you can see that we've added 2 sessions to this class group. So now we're going to enter the 3rd. And I actually just noticed that I entered these slightly incorrectly. So I'm actually also going to show you how to edit. So here you can actually see I didn't enter the session, which is a no-no. So I apologize. Because this is going to be the last session, I'm going to enter in US for use session, because I know that that's going to be the last session that we hold. And then I'm going to tie it to a class group again. It's going to be the South branch. We're going to skip again the hours complete until after that session has been completed. This time we're going to do Sam Shepard as the instructor. So here you can notice on this last the middle session, I actually didn't put the IS for internet session. We're going to go back to this. And here you see an edit item. And we're going to click on that. And because I forgot to put the IS for internet session, I'm going to add that back in. And now you can see that each is named appropriately. We have the computer session, the internet session, and the use session. So this totals our 6 hours for this class group. Now the last component is really what you've been waiting for, the participants, adding a participant. So here you can see that the default view when you click on participants is going to be the registered class group. So again, when you open these, you can see which people have been added to each class group by viewing all of this. So this is the class group and each session that they have been registered for. You can see too, this view, that the each section has been checked off, and we'll go into that now when we add a new participant. So this is definitely the most information that you'll have to enter in when you're entering any information into SharePoint. So here I'm going to enter in our participant information, and you can see the required fields, but let me walk you through all of the information. So here, the last name, first name, email address, the primary phone, if you want to enter secondary phone address, any of that information, you may do so. Here I'm going to enter in the county, and you can see that that is a required field. Now, the main thing that you want to keep in mind is assigning each participant to their registered class group, and here it would be the South branch. You will skip these checkboxes. Again, it's very similar to when you're entering those sessions in. You'll skip the hours complete, and you'll skip these checkboxes until after a session has been completed. So for instance, after the first session of May 21st, you can check off this box if that participant attended that class. So for here, I can either register in advance and select that South branch for the computer session, which is what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to select the internet session here. And the use section is going to be entered here. The computer session completed second internet session and the use session, those are for particular unique sites that are doing 1-hour classes and a total of 6, or I'm sorry, 1-hour sessions to total 6 to complete their class group. This is definitely not something that is standard practice. So if you think that this might pertain to your organization, you need to get prior approval from your state operations manager. So again, we're only going to use the computer session 1, internet session 1, and use session 1. So this can be used for registering a participant in advance, or once you've entered the participant information and assigned them to a class group, you can hit OK and then enter all of that information once everything has been complete. If you don't do registration in advance, you can fill all of this out at the same time, and if they've attended all of the classes, you would check all of the boxes. If they have completed all session components, the computer session, the IS session, and the US session, you're going to go to this class complete, and you're going to put the date of that last session. In this case, it's going to be May 23rd. Oh. So we're going to do that and then click OK. And here we're going to go down to the South branch. And because I want to point out something that is very important. You can see these computer, internet, and use. This is where those checkboxes were. And they say no. And yet I have a class completed date here. You'll definitely want to make sure that all of this is matching up, because if you have a class completed, these should all say yes. If they do not, then you need to edit that record. And here we'll edit that by just clicking on the record and checking off each component. And then going OK. And then we go out to this record. All of these say yes, and the class is completed. So that's how you would properly enter in a participant. You're going to have their name, their registered class group, and then you're also going to add each session that they attended. Again, if you're pre-registering folks, you can definitely select these prior to the class. But if you do your registration in another format, you can enter all of that information at the same time once either the session has been completed or the full class group has been completed. So again, if you're registering prior to, you would fill out this first section here with the participant information, each session that they are registering for, and then you'd hit OK. Once that participant has completed all of those sessions, you would go back into the participant records and then check off that they've completed along with putting this class completed date. Again, if not all of these components are entered in, your invoicing will not be correct. So I'm going to just save this record again by clicking OK. And so that is the basic way to enter all of the information you'll need to. Again, you would always start with adding your instructors, then adding your classes, then your sessions, and then finally adding your participants and making sure that they're attached to a class group and each session that they are going to attend or have attended. And then after they have completed those sessions, you're going to mark off each session and then put a class completed date. And you can see that easily in this view. That's the default view when you click on participants. You can see Mark Jones attended in January, and he completed each session and finished on January the 13th. For those of you that enter information and the sessions, we're actually going to go back to the sessions section to show you that if you're entering 2 sessions and they're 3 hours each, this is the way you would want to format it. You can see that the naming is still very similar, but because you're combining a couple of objectives, you're going to want to put when you review each training objective. So in this case, they're doing the computer session all in 3 hours, and then the internet session and the use session are combined into this 3-hour session, and that will total their 6 hours for the class group. So just keep this in mind when you're doing this. You will also, in your participant record, make sure that you're assigning folks to all 3 components. So in this case, because the internet session and the use session are combined, you're going to want to put the internet session, you're going to select this, and you're also going to select it for the use session as well, so that we know each of the 3 training objectives have been completed. Even though you only have 2 real sessions, we need to make sure that each training objective has been completed. This is the easiest way for you to make sure that your invoicing is going to be correct each month. So that reviews everything that you need in order to enter information into QuickBase. The next videos will go over different components so that you can bulk edit, you can create custom views, and access additional information on your site. So thanks so much for joining, and we hope you enjoy the other videos.